thank you guys both so much for taking an opportunity to join us. Everybody, we are joined by Kevin Darby and Ben Macdonald from DTS Fitness Education. Guys, thank you so much for taking the opportunity to join us today.
Thanks so much for having us on the show, my man.
Yes, yes, thank you.
Yeah, so maybe if we could just jump into your guys' background, that would be really great in order to be able to just kick off introductions for our audience who is here today and those of you who are listening on podcast as well. Could you guys share a little bit of details as far as how long have you guys been working in fitness? How'd you first land in the world of fitness as a career?
Yeah,
I'll let you go first, man.
I was like, yeah, you know what I mean? Mine's not difficult to follow up, you know what I mean? So Kev's like, yeah, you go first. If I go after him, I'm like, flipping heck, how do I follow that one? You know what I mean? I've been in the industry, as far as personal training goes, for about 16 plus years. Been a boxing coach for about 25 plus years. So I've got a little bit of time in the industry, my mate. And my background is combat sport. Got into education, personal training, then into education, then moved to various places around the world and presented there and stuff like that. And then now I'm over in Canada, where it's at the moment I'm in my garage and it is about -7, and I'm in a pair of shorts and bare feet. So you know what I mean? I can't really feel my toes anymore. But aside from that, that's my sort of background, my man.
All right, I've been around the industry just over 30 years. Turned 50. I turned 50 in September, so it made it officially the 30 plus year mark. Started off as an athlete with a desire to become a professional athlete. However, I lacked one key thing that all professional athletes need, which is talent. So I lacked talent. So got into the S&C world, strength and conditioning. I was the head strength and conditioning coach at an athletic academy. From there, I moved into personal training. From personal training, I moved into running the wellness department for the largest municipal police service here in Canada. I ran that for about 7 years. During that time, I built a relationship with a gentleman named Stu McGill. Stu McGill is one of the top low back experts in the world. So we got involved with a research study that went over about 5 years. And that research study eventually won an international award. And, you know, during that time, I got to work with athletes from every major sports league here in North America, except for baseball, and eventually got to represent Canada as part of the Canadian military pentathlon team. So I count myself lucky. I've worn a lot of different hats in the industry: pro athletes, regular people, personal trainer, strength conditioning, research, presenting. And like Ben, I've also won, a few awards for presenting Canadian, peer recognized Canadian awards. So yeah, that's sort of the background. Lots of different hats. So I count myself lucky, and founded DTS Fitness Education. I'm also partners with Chris and Ann Frederick from the States in the Stretch to Win, which delivers fascial stretch therapy. So there you have it. Lots there, but it sort of gives you the breadth of my background in multiple areas.
Awesome. Super excited to talk to you guys both. We got over 45 years of experience between both of you guys as well. Tell me a little bit about DTS Fitness Education as well for the people who aren't familiar with the brand.
Yeah, well, DTS started officially about 12 years ago. The DTS stands for Darby Training System. So from years before, I was delivering some seminars. And what I found when I got into the personal training industry, because personal training and strength conditioning are different, it's certainly different worlds. There was a lack of structure and a lack of education around what do I do? All of this is nice, but what do I actually do with the client? What are some of the challenges that you face with general population or regular people? And that's what this certification was developed around, was the practical, like how to take all of this information and apply it in a way that's going to help you to be successful in the context of personal training. Because personal training and strength conditioning are a little bit different, but a lot of the literature, research, and resources used in the personal training industry come from this bigger strength and conditioning community. So I think that's it. And then Ben joined us several years ago, and he brought, this incredible ability to instruct and connect. So Ben, if you want to touch on, the evolution of DTS since you've come in.
Yeah, when I first came over to Canada, I thought, oh, I've got it. I'm good, you know what I mean? Like, I've been a PT for X amount of time. I've been in education for a while. Met Kev, and then I thought, oh, do you know what Kev said? Why don't you come and do the course? Come and do DTS level 1. I said, I'm going to do it. So I turned up on the course. I was like, whoa, mate, this is different. This is a different sort of thing completely. This is how to take things and apply it in a practical environment and make a client better at life, as opposed to getting them better in the gym. I thought, this is amazing. So anyway, we do a lot of assessment-based stuff that drives a lot of programming and X, Y, and Z. And mate, you should have seen my flavored assessment sheet, eh? I was like, yeah, I'm pretty good. Like, I've been fighting. I'm pretty fit. My assessment sheet was just like opportunity, like all the way down the page. I was like, oh mate, I'm falling apart. So I thought, this is a game changer. So I was then obviously sort of motivated to start to deliver the content. It was something that I could firmly stand behind, you know. So so I got involved with the company, and then we sort of progressed into not different areas, but utilizing that same process in different applications. You know what I mean? So it's even though we've got the mother program, we've got lots of different things where the same principles can be applied to different areas. Up until now, we've just released our habits coach program, which again is a systemized approach to how you can affect habit change. So it's just a powerful program, mate, which I was drawn to.
That's incredible, and like you guys said earlier as well, you guys have 45 years of experience in the industry between you guys both. We've talked a bit of one of the things that you mentioned is that how to get people good at life and not just the gym. And I feel like, at least from what I've seen, that's mentally different from where things have started in way in the past. From your guys' perspective, how has the industry changed since you guys have both started, and where is it at today, and where are you taking it?
And I'll let you start, and I'll fill in from you.
No problem, my mate. I think I think, Kaelan, the industry tends to be very cyclical. So you watch the same things come round again and again and again, but just slightly packaged in a different way. Do you know what I mean? So you've got people like, everybody wants to get like 17-inch pythons, you know what I mean? Like, so they can say which way is it to the vets because these swans are sick. You know what I mean? So like, everyone wants to get both, and then everyone wants to get cardiovascularly fit, and then it'll switch into like implement training, like something new will come out. So I think you can see the same sort of stuff will cycle through over and over again. But eventually, like, I think the industry is changing to the point where people are understanding the application of what it is that they're doing a lot more. I think there's a lot more education behind what a lot of people are doing right now. So that's the key sort of thing that I see as a change in the industry, would be more that people are really focusing on education, as opposed from leaving the clients in a pool of sweat and vomit on the gym floor. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I think to build on that, our industry initially was all about fat loss, how you look. I think that's what attracts a lot of people to fitness. They, when they're a teenager or a person in their early 20s, they want to look a certain way. And there's these belief systems around, if they look a certain way, then, you know, these other things will happen in their life. And then as people get a bit older, it all comes again back to this idea of fat loss. They gain some weight, and there's a belief or a thought around, if I train, I'm going to lose this weight. And if I lose this weight, I'll be healthier. And I think social media is also built into that, where you get these extreme examples of, you know, people taking pictures with their shirt off, you know, everyone finding the right light. So, you know, in this light, I look a certain way with my shirt off versus this angle versus this angle. And that's what a lot of people want. They want this aesthetic. They want to look a certain way. But the reality is, we need fitness as a counterbalance to sitting in front of the computer for the number of hours that we do. We need fitness as a counterbalance to the level of stress that most people have. And by stress, I just mean a full calendar, that every day it's go, go, go. And fitness just creates this space where it's almost like meditation or mindfulness. It's like something where you can just say, this is for me. So what we have done as a company is recognize the need, not the want. So we're recognizing the need for people to move well, because if you don't move well, your hips and shoulders get beat up. We see the fastest growing joint replacement surgery is hip replacements. And we know that probably has a direct correlation with the amount that people are sitting. So we are really trying as a company to identify what the need is and to frame it in an interesting and engaging way, because most people want fat loss. That's what they want. That's why they go and see a trainer. But what they need is to move a little bit more. What they need is to move on a daily basis. What they need is to get their hips and shoulders working a little bit better. And what they need is to improve their cardiorespiratory fitness to prevent some sort of cardiovascular event later in life. So it's this very, very nuanced dance of understanding what people want, but what do they need? And I think we do a really good job at that. You know?
Excellent, guys. So if you actually don't mind, Ben and Kevin, so that was a great background. I kind of want to dive a little bit more into kind of this broader subject that we're talking about. Ben, don't be nervous. It's all right.
I'm just doing my best. That's all I've got, mate. You know what I mean?
So I kind of want to keep diving into this idea, basically how a trainer has moved not just from fitness, but into a life coach. And I think within your guys's, both of your entrances or the beginning parts of what you'd said already, you've already touched upon it. So I know, Ben, you were talking specifically, you'd mentioned the word habits. I got to know, to kind of set the foundation for the viewers and the listeners to us today, when we're talking about how behaviors, habits, mindsets that clients learn at the gym apply to their life, what are kind of some of those themes, behaviors, habits, mindsets? Like, what are we referring to? What are we talking about? What are those habits? What are those behaviors?
Yeah, do you know what? I think, Derek, like, it was when I first came and started working with DTS, that was not, it was not something that I'd sort of really focused on as far as like habit change, mindset, all these different components. And when I first came to Canada, started working with Kev, mate, it was like, it was a different outlook completely, where everything was, instead of it being like combat sport, I used to say to my coach, what should I be eating? And he'd be like, don't worry about it. Just train twice as hard. You know what I mean? The mindset around it was a totally different animal. Now, when I came and worked with DTS, it was all, a lot of it is all fundamentally based around having a growth mindset as opposed to a fixed mindset. And I found that sort of a really interesting concept. So Kev's consistently sort of saying to me, oh, here's a book that you should read. Like, you know what I mean? I'm not a massive reader, but Kev, see all the books behind him there. Like, he don't actually read them. They're more for show than anything else. But it's just to be like, you should read this book. So I'll read the book. A great one was Mindset by Carol Dweck, where she spoke about this concept of growth mindset over fixed mindset. And I think that bringing that into the gym for a client and getting them into the thought process, letting them understand a process that they can apply inside the gym will also have a ton of carryover into processes that they can apply in the life. So as an example, one thing that one of the courses that we deliver is a barbell strength certification. And there's a full mindset and mental preparation piece that goes into it for the client. So when they step to the bar, there's a full process that they go through every single time. So they go through the mental preparation before they even pick the bar up. And I think that was just a total shift in concept, where you see people walk in the gym, they're like, hey, we're going to do ground to overhead, woo! And they just start going for it. Whereas really it's like, this is how you address the bar. This is the process you go through. Once you've got that application and you follow this, you understand there's a process around everything that you do, you can take that and apply it into any area or aspect of your life. So yeah, I think that was just an interesting thing when I stepped into it, as opposed to what I'd sort of learned before. But this really is Kev's sort of realm and area of expertise. You know what I mean?
If I were to address it, Derek, specifically to what you are talking about, is the personal trainer has evolved from just doing personal training, counting reps, giving exercises, assigning programs, to being a personal health coach. And a personal health coach now impacts in terms of nutrition changes, lifestyle changes, training, right? They're all part of it, but it's a broader basket of different things that you have to bring in. And I think for most clients, it's not a knowledge deficit, it's an understanding deficit, right? I'll give you an example. A tomato, we all have the knowledge that a tomato is a fruit. Yes, I know it's classified as a vegetable, but it is actually a fruit. So tomato is a fruit, but we have the understanding that a tomato doesn't go in a fruit salad. Have we got it? That's understanding versus knowledge. Most clients have knowledge of fitness. They have knowledge of food. What they lack is the understanding. So everyone has the will, they lack the skill. So as a personal health coach, you understand that strength is a skill. There's a way of teaching strength. Habit building and habit change is a skill. You have to teach that. Movement is a skill. You have to have a system for being able to teach it. Resistance training is a skill. When you add the load, it's a skill to be able to teach the client how to manipulate that. Even challenging your own beliefs is a skill. And I think the deficit or the opportunity for most personal trainers is to recognize clients have the will, they don't have the skill. They have the knowledge, but they don't have the understanding. The trainers who are going to float to the top and have clients who renew for years and years and years, they know how to teach understanding. They know how to break each of these pieces down in a scaffolded way so the client learns the skill. The client takes the knowledge and is able to apply it into getting better at things. And I think that's what we do better than any other, and I'll say it, any other fitness education company in the world. We have a clear understanding that advanced skills are the basics mastered, and we take a lot of pride in how to break down the basics so people can learn the skill. So we have this alignment between what their will is and the skill to be able to execute it.
No, that's excellent stuff. And it comes back to a point you had said earlier, Kevin. I'm curious to get your thoughts on this. Is you talked about kind of one of the main things people are seeking at the beginning is kind of physical changes, right? They're trying to look at themselves in the mirror, have the big Python biceps that Ben was referring to, or lose weight, etc. Is part of the understanding whenever you are to educate them, is it to get them to understand that the physical changes is just part of like this overall life positivity that they can improve upon?
Yeah, and to understand sometimes, listen, there's a genetic component to this. I don't know if you remember this. I remember when I was young, you went in and they had the jeans, and they had the skinny jeans, they had the regular fit, and they had the husky. And when we were kids, we saw it. There were certain kids who were huskier, right? They were kids who were, little sticks. Listen, all you need to do is look at your parents, your grandparents. If every single person in your family is under 5'8" and they tend to be stockier build, guess what? You can aspire all you want to look like a 6'8" NBA player. That's not, your genetics are going to, in a way, serve you up the parameters of what you can look like. And if we get away from this obsession with what's my weight and turn the obsession to is what is my level of fitness and my level of movement competency, then you can reach your full potential. And I love when they do those photo shoots in fashion magazines or sport magazines of all the different athletes. I don't know if you've seen them when they're pretty well naked and they just cover up and they show how all the different body types look. The swimmers look quite a bit different than the gymnasts, right? But they all are working to their potential of what they have. What is the highest level of performance they can achieve? And I think to come back right to your question there, Derek, it's getting people out of this thought process that the visual of how they look dictates their level of fitness. Fitness is your heart, your cardiorespiratory fitness. How strong can you be? How well can you move? How can you manipulate habits and beliefs in a way that serves you well, rather than just looking at it simply from the lens of, you know, how much do I weigh? What's my body fat percentage? Because we know that, you know, we can influence that a little bit, but most times your body kind of naturally reverts back to the what it naturally wants to do. Has anyone seen that show with Zac Efron, where he travels around? I don't remember the name.
I've seen an episode, yeah.
Yeah, and I love when he talks about when he got the leanest that he ever was. And he says, listen, I don't ever want to go back there. He says, I loved all the feedback I got from people, like, you look jacked and all that. He says, I've never been more miserable in my life. He says, my mental health was terrible. My sleep was terrible. I was hungry all the time. I was moody. He says, I was not fun to be around, nor did I enjoy my life at that point. He says, to the point where I think I was having some mental health issues. And he's like, you know, it looked a certain way, but it certainly wasn't health or vitality or me living to my full potential. And I think we need to change that script in our industry. And we hear it. We see the modeling industry changing. We see people being criticized for fat shaming on social media. So let's get away from this idea that this way of looking is ideal. It's not, I'm sorry. It's not. It's just where people end up. Let's focus more on fitness and helping people to use fitness to feel better and improve their mental health. Ben, your thoughts on the fitness and mental health?
Yeah, I think as far as what you've just been saying there, Kev, for me, the health and fitness industry, it goes like this, right? At some point, it becomes very, very exclusive. And then at other points, it becomes less exclusive and more inclusive. And then it goes back where you've got to look a certain way, as Kev said, where your hand has to go in this position when you do a certain movement. Your feet have to turn out at this position when you do a squat. You must do this, you must do that. Listen, it's like the health and fitness industry should be inclusive of everybody. Shouldn't be exclusive where, oh, you can't wear that because your bum's too big, or you can't wear that because you've got big thighs, or you can't. It's crazy how exclusive it can get. The human body is made to move. What we want to do is optimize the movement. If you're unloaded, it doesn't really make that much difference, to be honest. You know what I mean? If you're picking up a big heavy load, different game. But if you're just moving it, not a huge issue. So we got to get away from the exclusivity and make it inclusive of everybody. And as an industry, when it comes to coaching and personal training, remember that the people that come and see you have potentially been unsuccessful with health and fitness. These are the people who got picked last to go on to play for a team, who may never have been involved in playing basketball or playing whatever sport it is that's popular at that school. But they come and see you, and as a personal trainer, you may have an athletic background. So your mindset, where your head is at with health and fitness, is totally different than the person that's in front of you. And that's where you get people saying, oh, well, you're going to do this, you're going to eat this, you're going to train like this, you're going to do X, Y, and Z. And then they can't understand, the trainer can't understand why the client isn't following what they're telling him to do. Because to them, it makes perfect sense. So you've got to understand where that person is in their journey, as opposed to making it a little exclusive and looking at it from through your filter.
That's it. Hey guys, just get people moving, man. Get people moving. Any person who walks into the gym, you should be the beacon of hope. You should be the person that every single person comes to. And then you should take pride in that every single client you work with develops a level of movement competency that sees them able to get on and off the toilet, negotiate stairs. They can go up and down the stairs. They can go in the forest, go for a hike, walk up a hill, walk down the hill. They can pick up their kids, their grandkids. They should not They should not have this limitation that my knees hurt, my low back hurts, et cetera, et cetera. So let's create a fitness program that 6 months, 18 months, 3 years down the road, where that person has healthy joints and is pain-free. Many times the fat loss and the aggressiveness of the training is actually creating some of the issues for the clients 12, 18, 2 years down the road, because we just haven't considered what their capacity is and now tailor the demand to make sure it fits their capacity. Number one mistake in the personal training industry: pre-done programs that impose a demand up here for a client whose capacity is down here. Whenever there's a gap between that demand and capacity, that's where things break down, and we have people who are unsuccessful in achieving their goals or potentially getting injured. Advanced skills are the basics mastered. Trainers need to, that sounds too judgmental, should spend more time on the basics. We cover breath, we cover squat, and we do it for hours. And people are just like, that much on the squat? Yes. And when they look at it, they say, nothing here is complicated. What it does is just goes to the detail. Where should the foot turn? What should the width of the stance be? What's the femur to torso ratio of your client? All of these little tiny things that if you're a trainer and people are paying you money, take pride in the basics. Take pride. That's what master crafts people do. They take pride in the basics. We see it over and over again.
Yeah, really, really great to be able to hear that. And for me, when I'm listening to both of you guys, I think one of the things that is coming across is it's a personalized journey for everybody, and it should go beyond fitness in order to be able to have an impact within their lives and not take away from their lives, but enhance it.
Yeah. When
you guys are looking at the business of training or the business of a model where you have a member within the facility, how do you guys think that maybe this challenges, or goes in line with the traditional way that we look at a client to trainer relationship or a member to trainer model, and how that looks? Do you think that it changes it drastically, or?
Kalen, I'm curious. You've heard us. I know you probably don't get this on your podcast too often. What do you think? What we just said, how would you frame it? You've got experience in this industry. From what we said, what have we toggled or triggered in your thinking that might be different?
Yeah, so from my end, it actually resonates a lot with even the way that we see our technology. So for example, we don't just look at ourselves as a fitness app. You know, we are trying to make an impact within people's lives 24/7. So with our technology, you have a mindfulness component within there where you can listen to meditations when you're stressed out at work, because that's a part of your fitness and wellness as well. And we also know that, you know, through the process of fitness and connecting with people who are like-minded, that community gives you an opportunity in order to also help in other areas of your life that's about wellness as well. And so I really align with it, and I see that fitness can be kind of an entry point in order to increase people's lives, and I see technology like as a way in order to be able to help contribute to that approach as well, of making just people better. So I'm completely on board, but I think one of the things that, you know, you guys have mentioned as well is that the industry didn't necessarily come from that, and a lot of people just kind of look at their piece about just maybe, I'm going to make sure this person does this part of training perfectly and just focuses on boxing and boxing excellence. And, you know, there's I think there's people who might make an argument saying that I'd rather be super niche oriented and delegate or find somebody else who can help them in another area, rather than be all inclusive.
And if I could jump in on that, I think to add on that point, I'm thinking, you know, if I'm kind of looking at it from the same question you proposed to Kaylin, I imagine that you, Kevin, and you, Ben, a big part of what you do is also contact points outside of when they're face-to-face with you, right? So and me and Kaylin were actually talking about this the other day. We're like, hey, why is going to work out so simple, but eating healthy so difficult? And it's because something like nutrition, that's 24/7. You always have to be mindful of. Something like fitness, I know when I walk in and walk out in an hour, that's what I'm limited to. So I imagine with you guys and what the trainer of the future should be doing is seeing how they can integrate into touch points in those other times when they're not physically present.
100%. I think that's where we are moving to the industry. If you're a personal health coach, you're integrated with the person's life, less clients, and a much higher level of service in all aspects, because you are impacting their health in a more meaningful way than any other person can, simply because you're holding them accountable to all those behaviors. So if they can have something using your app with a little reminder about habit change, a scoring system, an accountability partner. Once we put all those pieces in, we know people rate accountability as being one of the number one reasons why they work with a trainer. So if a trainer can have additional tools to up the accountability, it's helpful. And accountability, not in a judgmental way, accountability in a skill training way. You know, the same way when a child learns to walk, they fall down lots of times, right? You know, when they're trying to walk up the stairs, they got to hold on. A human being, when they're changing a habit around nutrition, sleep, all of those things, they need help for an extended period of time until it becomes a habit, until it becomes automated. And I think our definition of habits is sometimes flawed. A habit is when you do something that's automatic. You don't have to think about it. If I asked you guys, how do you brush your teeth? You probably can't tell me. You can't tell me if you start in the back corner, the front of the tooth, the back of the tooth, where do you finish? Like how, like, but if I were to time you, you probably brush your teeth within a couple of seconds, the same every time. And there's probably an order that you follow, and you do it every day because it's a habit and you don't think about it. So we would like, you know, when you're going to sleep, nutrition choices, how you conduct yourself with a meal, how you connect with other people. We would love that to also be a habit. And we realize it takes time. So yeah, I agree with you. I think we're all on the same page. Technology and accountability. Technology can be very helpful, and technology can be very harmful. You just need to know how to manage it, like everything else in your life.
Yeah, that's awesome. I definitely feel like we share a lot of the same opinions on kind of the all-encompassing and the wellness-oriented approach and going beyond the gym. I mean, like I mentioned before, I think one of the big areas that you're able to have an impact, at least that from what we've seen, is the increase in, you know, retention of members, for example, by offering great things like a community. And we believe that can have a huge impact on the retention of the members and create more loyal members. As you guys kind of look at your approach as well, and teaching people in order to have such a profound impact in the lives of their members, are there any other areas that you see as additional benefits beyond just the physical, and maybe in the business or to the clients that you guys can speak to?
Yeah, I think as an industry, Caitlin, when we're talking about, if I understand your question right, when we talk about as an industry and the way that gyms and gym chains retain members, or look at the way they treat and look at their member base, I think we need to we're going in this direction. We just need to go like this, boom, and just do a complete 180. You know what I mean? Because it's a lot of gym chains, and it's straight across the industry, even down to personal trainers, sometimes focus very much on acquisition of new members, acquisition of new clients. That's the main focus. And sometimes you can get away from, do you know what? I've got these loyal members right here. What can I do? If I was to take my focus from this and put it into this, what can I do to help support them achieve what they want to achieve and move forward with the goals and keep them as members for a longer sort of duration or period of time? So I think we need to really have that shift in the industry and go from, yes, it's always important to make sure we're looking after new people coming into the industry, but sometimes we can forget about the people that we already sort of invested in and who were invested in us. I think we've got a bit of a what should we call it? A bit of a responsibility that we should look after those people, you know?
Yeah, like it's our nature, right? The next, we got the client. Now let's move on to the next one. No, we've got the client. Let's service and recognize they have the will. Now let's work on building those skills. Let's have a scaffolding network where we help them to crawl, walk, run. And it takes a long period of time, and we need to do it in these incremental little pieces. In our habits coach program, the number one mistake that trainers make is they give a habit that's too big. We set people up for failure. The reason people yo-yo is because we have not learned the skill of how to teach a habit, and it's bringing it down to this. It's small, incremental, and you stick with them for a long period of time. So, Ben, we resonate. That resonates very strongly for us about this idea of spending time. Take the time. Have 12 clients that you service 3 to 4 times. Like, nail it. Like, smaller group level of service that people don't ever want to leave you. And obviously there's people have different financial resource challenges in their life, but if you create this level of service, most people will find the resources to stay with you for years and years.
Definitely. Yeah. Last question from my end before I turn it over to Derek with another line is, as you guys are kind of taking a look at just the world of training today and seeing maybe how it's different or how it's changing, you guys have already given a lot of great information already as far as some of the things that are going to make somebody successful with their clients. But what do you guys think, if you can share some others with us, is important to succeed as a trainer today? So what do you guys think are some of the key things in order to make sure that personal trainers are going to be successful going forward as well?
I'll jump in now because Kev's looking like that and just smiling. I'll jump in. I think as far as personal trainers being successful, it's exactly as Kev said a little earlier. Understand that advanced skills are the basics mastered. Understand why you are prescribing this exercise for this client. Understand what the client's capacity is, and how do you match the demand of your workout to that capacity? How do you find out what the client's capacity is in the first place? I think also we've got to be careful about getting into the guru-like mentality where it's like people say, it always makes me laugh when people say, yeah, well, this is how you do it. I'm like, oh, really? Yeah, you've got to have a 4-0, 1-0 tempo. I'm like, I say, do you think the gladiators in Rome, were the gladiators extremely fit? And people say, well, yeah. I said, and did they have a 4-1-1, like whatever tempo you want? Did they have any of that? They're like, no, they just picked a load of rocks up from over here and put them over here, because someone trying to kill you is a very strong motivator when it comes to health and fitness. You see what I mean? So I think we've got to get away from the guru-like mentality and understand the application. Everything is good in the health and fitness industry. The only opportunity is with the application of what you're doing. And you said this before, Caleb, and this is a big one. It's the application. Boxing and boxing training is phenomenal for people. The 3 most injured sites of the body are the shoulder, low back, and knee. If you perform boxing training in the correct way and apply it at the correct time, and your client has the capacity for it, mate, like very protective of the shoulder, very protective of the low back, very protective of the knees. If not, it will destroy all 3. So what you've got now, Caleb, especially when it comes to that, it used to be historically combat sport. You'd start from a very early age and you would build your capacity nice and steady. And you would spend years just doing the fundamental components of that particular martial art or combat sport. But now what's happened is you get all the pro gyms have just opened the doors and said to people who are like 40 years old, 50 years old, hey, come on in and do a class with us. They've had no experience, no time to build resilience in that sort of environment. And now they're doing like 10 rounds on a flaming 100-pound heavy bag. And they say, do you know what? I love boxing, but wow, it don't half beat my shoulders up. I'm like, not surprised, mate. Do you see what I mean? So I think for trainers, they've got to understand the application of what it is that they're doing and marry that up to the capacity of the client. I think that would be the biggest thing, as Kev said earlier.
Yeah, and if I build on the same point, it's a will and skill gap. Every client has a will to get fitter. Every trainer has the will to improve the level of fitness, body fat percentage, strength, etc. with their clients. The reason we don't get there, everyone, is there's a gap, right? Here's a will, here's a skill. The only way to navigate this is by learning. If you want to take someone's will, right, and get there and be successful, you have to upgrade the skills. That's it, nothing more. The only reason that client doesn't get there or the trainer can't get there is because they don't have the skills. Ben said it, advanced skills are the basics mastered. Spend more time on learning the skills. Strength is a skill. Habit change is a skill. Challenging beliefs is a skill. You have to break it down, scaffold it into the individual components. If you can build up that skill, everyone will achieve their will. That's it, nothing more. Very, very simple. Spend more time on skill development. That's a gap.
Yeah, and if I'm thinking about, skills development, I'm thinking about habits, some of these holistic wellness, some of these other topics that we've talked about today. And I think one of the struggles with personal trainers are just in the industry. And I want to use the term very loosely because it could be those that focus very heavily on the fitness element and not this holistic element is, retention isn't as great for many as they wish it would be. So do you see kind of that this creates this kind of more life coach creates much more motivation for them, more sticking points, and this ultimately leads to more retention?
Yeah, if you again develop the skills, one of the skills is motivational interviewing, knowing what the motivation for your client. One of the skills is your active listening skills to hear what the client is actually telling you. They may say something, but if you listen, they're telling you something else. And once you understand what their intrinsic motivators are, perfect. You got one part. Now you can create extrinsic motivate. You can bring them all together, but you have to have the skills to understand what language do I use? How do I build the habits in a way that builds momentum and success, that activates that dopamine feedback loop? How do I use my words? How do I assess their capacity? So when I place a demand, it sets them up for success. So there, you have to look at it all. So the reason that people are not able to retain their clients is they lack the skill. Again, I'm going to come back to it. In order for that client to achieve their will. That's all it is. Anytime something falls off, you have trouble with renewals, you didn't develop the skill of understanding what their motivation was. You didn't understand the skill of how to progress them at a pace where they felt like they're winning. If something doesn't feel good, humans don't do it. There's no secret there. So now you have to frame and structure things so every session is a win. You activate that dopamine feedback loop and the person says, yes, yes, right? I'm successful. I've got momentum. I'm going to keep going with this. When you make it too hard, they don't keep going. Remember, these aren't Olympians who have given up things for, the last 8 years and everything is about, success at the next Olympics. These are your regular folks who have demands of family, demands of work, etc. And fitness is just something in many cases that their physician said, listen, you're on the route to high blood pressure or type 2 diabetes. You need to do a little extra of this. Rarely is it something that they're excited about. If they were excited about it, they wouldn't be looking for a personal trainer in the first place. Any thoughts you have there, Ben?
Yeah, I think, when it comes to retention, one of or a couple of the big things for me, number one is connection. So I think people like trainers they're so concerned about the way that they look to everybody else that they lack authenticity in what they say and the way that they present themselves. they're not honest. Do you know what I mean? Because it's like, they think, oh, do I really know what I'm doing here? Should I be giving this advice about X, Y, and Z? Should I be doing this, this, and this? It's like, so from that, they're so concerned about, if I say this, what will this person think of me? So it kills the authenticity for people. And that, as soon as you drop that off, connection is almost, it's out the window, because you could become robotic in what it is that you do. So connection, when it comes to retention, is absolute, probably for me, the number one thing above everything else. It trumps results. You know what I mean? If somebody is connected with you through that authenticity, then they will stay with you as a client, as a member of the gym, and you'll move forward. You will make them successful at whatever it is that they do. Some people, it may take a little less time. Some people, it may take a little more time, but you'll get there. Also, when it comes to that retention component, as we've sort of danced and skirted round it a little bit, I think people need to understand there's so many different facets to health and fitness. Like, people just see physical fitness, and people are starting to really sort of dial into mental health and mental fitness as a component. But there's also financial fitness, social fitness, even religious fitness. There's like all of these different facets that all play into this component of total fitness. And I think that as soon as you get the idea that, yeah, do you know what? Physically, we may be a little lacking here, but I'll tell you what, mate, you are like, in this field, you are boom. So celebrate the wins and make people feel successful. And that would be another key component. So connection, and just focusing on total fitness as opposed to little tiny components of it.
Yeah, super great. In order to jump in that, one of the things that I feel that we all were talking about in just the discussion of, first, how do you take somebody from the will to the skill, and then additionally, giving people the chance to celebrate wins, is the topic of motivation and how important that is. I'm going to ask the same question, but I'm curious as in two different places, because obviously a lot of the trainer to client relationships and gym to member relationships have changed since some of the facilities have been down, and some people can't meet in person. So traditionally, if you're able to meet in person as much as you'd like, how do you create that motivation in order to bridge that gap that you guys were talking about? And then the question, maybe in today's day, where we have some of the challenges of COVID and remote working, how do you create motivation for your clients or team during these times?
You want to start? You want me to start, Ben?
I'll jump in, mate. I'll jump in. I think one of the biggest things, Kalen, is you have to make what you are doing engaging and enjoyable. That, like, I have seen trainers and coaches, mate, who were absolutely every origin, insertion, muscle fiber direction, fusey pennant, bipennant, blah, blah, all of these different things. But the training sessions and the way that they communicate with the client is just, the client doesn't enjoy it. Do you see what I mean? Whereas I've seen other trainers who are not very technically sort of like minded, but the connection that they have and the enjoyment that they bring to the training session, the client's like, this is like, you see them walking in the gym, they're like, yes, you know what I mean? This is like my favorite part of the day. They roll in and they're ready to train. That truly is the magic, mate. If you can do that, and it comes down to, I heard this sort of example or description of sales many, many years ago, right? And somebody was saying to me, all sales is imparting your passion for a product onto somebody else. That's it. If you could do that, mate, you can sell you can sell anything. We're not selling that in a session, if that makes sense. But if somebody comes in and you are like ready, you're passionate, that really sort of emanates from you to that client, mate, they will pick up that vibe and they will love the training session. So I think when you talk about motivation, motivation is a finite resource. That's like, it just, after a certain amount of time, motivation, it doesn't last. But when you make that session enjoyable, you look at the client, you're like, mate, you just killed that. And you're like, you just killed it. And they're like, mate, I'm loving this. I've been unsuccessful before, and now I walk in the gym and I'm like, you know, I've got this flaming elephant fitness stuff. I've got it down. They're enjoying it. That lasts far longer than the motivation component. So, and you can carry that across, Kaylin. People think now, like the medium of like the virtual sort of training stuff, people think, oh, I can't, just because you cannot physically put your hands on a client, it doesn't mean that you can't transfer and connect with them. That doesn't mean that at all. Do you see what I mean? So that enjoyment and that passion that you bring to the table, whether you're face to face or whether you're over a flaming camera, it doesn't really, to all intents and purposes, make that much of a difference. You can still make it an enjoyable experience, whether you're hands-on or over a camera.
Yeah, 100%. I really love that answer, Ben. If I'm a personal trainer listening today and maybe I'm a little bit shy and not sure exactly how to create an environment like this just naturally because it doesn't come so easy, but I love the technical component. Are there any tips maybe you can share for a trainer who might find themselves in that situation where they're just trying to add that in making it fun for their clients and engaging?
Yeah, don't care. Don't care. Don't care what people think. That's the biggest thing. People absolutely kill themselves. It's very rare, Kaylin, that you'll hear people say, oh, do you know what? I'm really worried about the way that I'll look at myself if I get this wrong. It's very, very rare. What you'll hear is people say, oh, well, if I get this wrong, then other people will look at me in this way. It's all about how other people perceive you. I'll give you an example. I remember I'd just done a big TV show in the UK and it was super cheesy, right? It was like, it was really bad. But I'm stood there and I was doing an assessment. I was watching this person doing a session. This other guy comes over to me and he's doing the same thing. And he stood there, he went, saw your training session last night. And I was like, oh, did you? And he went, yeah, it was flaming really cheesy. You know, like this. And I just looked at him and I went, yeah, wasn't as good as yours, wasn't it, mate? You know, like that. And he just went, good point. You know what I mean? Because it's like, it's so easy for people to sort of like throw stones at you while they're not doing anything themselves. Do you see what I mean? You're like, hey, listen, it's I think connection's a weird one. The biggest thing is like, don't worry about what other people think of you. And one more thing, if I can add one more point, we saw a gentleman called Todd Herman present, and it really sort of resonated with me when he was talking about this, creating an alter ego, right? And what he was talking about is when he walks into his house at night, his brain is all over from what he's just been doing, like work, all this, that, and the other. And it was distracting from him being a good dad to his kids. So what he had was a bracelet that he hung on where he hangs his keys. So what he would do was he'd come in, he'd take his keys out of his pocket, he'd hang them on the hook, and he'd take the bracelet off and he'd put it on. And every time he put the bracelet on, he became super dad. So that was his thing, right? And it got me thinking, I'm like, wow, that's really good. But once you start realizing the way I am with my wife is totally different than the way that I am with my friends. The way that I am with my children is totally different than the way that I am with Kev or my work colleagues or whatever it may be. But each one is just as authentic as the other one. Do you see what I mean? So you can create these alter egos when it's like, when I put my personal training top on, I am super PT or whatever you want to be, but it's still just as authentic as when you're talking to your friends. So I think that was a very interesting sort of presentation that he did.
Awesome. Yeah, I wasn't sure if Kevin, you were going to jump in as well. So
yeah, creating connection. The number one thing that the human loves is momentum. So if you understand what the client's capacity is, no matter what area it is, and you can impose a demand for which they can achieve, whether that's habit change, exercise, movement, once there's momentum and you celebrate and have them reflect on the success, you got them. That will create a sense. And some clients are going to be very extroverted. Wow, love it. And other clients will just have that like, I did it. So no matter who you are as a trainer and who your clients are, we know that dopamine feedback loop is real. All we need to do is have the client say, here it is, achieve it, frame it in terms of what their intrinsic motivation is, and you got them. So all that is a skill gap. I keep coming back to the same thing. It's just a skill gap. Most people don't know how to put a habit in or do something where you're setting people up for momentum. So just align whatever their will is, develop the skills so they can get that momentum of achievement, and you're good to go. So that's my add on there, Kaylin.
Yeah. Awesome. Yeah, I love that answer as well. Quick just time check here, guys, because I know we ran over a little bit. How are you guys doing on time? Because don't want to run over, but we didn't go through all of the questions. Otherwise, we can wrap it up and then just have like a
whatever you guys think. I think we've got a couple more minutes. And then also, if there's a certain area, Kaylin, like if you look at this and there's a certain area that you want to come back, I know we went like all over, but if there's a certain area where you feel like I'd like to make it just this, then we're also happy to come back and just focus in on that area. Whatever works for you guys. We want this to be successful and impactful for your base as well as us. Okay.
Awesome.
Does that sound good, Ben?
Yeah.
Yeah, sounds great to me. Yeah, and they can edit it, Kev, so they can cut loads of stuff out. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. We'll have the team editing this, so we can hit any of the questions as well. So maybe with that, was there any of the questions that you guys want to go back to?
No, not from on my end. I think the biggest thing for us for framing things is just the idea of the will and skill, and the importance of upskilling, and the importance of having a structure or a system where you can see the progress. And I think that serves both of us in terms of if you've got an app with something that's built in where you're tracking success, that's the physical thing that they need. And then we provide some of the education in terms of how to develop the skills. And essentially, they don't need our education to develop the skills, but the idea of read, do different things and saying, well, how am I going to accomplish this? Because a lot of trainers, I think the gap is, Kaylin, they just say, and they have dogmatic thoughts. They have these thoughts about how habits are built, how strength is built. That's not really, it's not the research. It's why we're having these struggles with people making change. So that's where I would come.
Awesome. Yeah, let's hit that piece then, so that this way we can dive into that in a little bit more detail. Because I think we can definitely go into the piece on the measuring and the process that you take in order to be able to track results. I have a couple questions. How does your app do that?
Just so I understand, how does your app do that exactly?
So there's a couple of different areas that you can do it. So we have a workout tracking component, which is going to be tracking things like your sets, reps of different exercises, the time, duration, weight, etc. So that's one component. The other area is going to be in the tracking of body metrics, weight. We also have pieces in there that are on the corporate health and wellness side of things as well. So outside of just things like circumference of biceps, how many push-ups, pull-ups you can do, but also be how many drinks of water did you have, or alcoholic drinks, how many cigarettes did you have? Those types of things are in the system as well.
Right.
Cool. Yeah. So the question that I got, I have a couple of them that we can ask in order to be able to get there. One is kind of like, I can ask a question about kind of the barriers from people from having success. So do you guys like that one? If I use that in order to jump into that piece? And
sure.
Cool. Yeah. So all right, guys. So we've been talking about the ability in order to be able to go from will skill and being able to bridge that gap. What do you guys see as maybe one of the biggest challenges to being able to actually realize that and have that come as a success point?
Well, if I jump in on this one, I would say the biggest thing that we need to do within our industry, or an opportunity that I see, is just to understand that incremental improvement is incremental. And when we talk about incremental improvement, if I say something like, I would like my client who never walks, right? Who never does any physical activity for their cardiorespiratory fitness, or just getting their body out the seat and walk around because they sit at a computer 8 hours a day. Then I would say in the first week, I want them to go to the front door and put their shoes on. And people look at you and say, what? You say, yeah, I just want them to go to the front door, have a very clear time when they wake up in the morning, when they come down, if they have coffee first thing in the morning, before you have your coffee, I want you to walk down and put on your shoes. And that seems like, well, that's not going to do anything. Yes, it is. It's going to get them thinking about when they wake up in the morning, they go and put on their shoes. And what's going to happen to the human being? They've got their shoes on. What do you think they're going to do? They're just going to walk out the door, and they're just going to walk to the end of the street and back. And then after a while, when they just get in this habit of they wake up, they walk downstairs, put on their shoes, and go out. And we say, I just want you to go for a 2-minute walk. A 2-minute walk? Yes. Because when they get going for a 2-minute walk weeks in a row, all of a sudden a 5-minute walk, all of a sudden they actually don't mind it. It's a nice little routine, and it becomes like brushing your teeth. So if I go right back to your question, the biggest barrier that we create most times is we start off this big. No, start off this big. Activate that dopamine feedback loop of getting the idea that I did it. Like I did it, momentum, success, and then they will keep doing it. That's how you build a long-term habit. I use the example of kids walking. If you watch a kid building up to walk, you can see it for weeks and weeks and weeks. You say it's coming. You can see them grabbing, and they you don't rush it. You don't say, well, they should be walking tomorrow. No, you just say, okay, there's a process. And then you watch them for months and months, wobble around. Once in a while, they face plant into the sidewalk like a lawn dart, and you understand that's all part of the process, right? And by the time they get to 4 or 5 years old, that doesn't happen as much. It's just part of the process. So that would be my big thing. Just appreciate that building that skill takes time, and celebrate the wins. Celebrate the wins that are this big. So I would say the obstacle is we generally only celebrate the wins this big, or we create the goals being this big. Ben, I'll turn it over to you. What are your thoughts on the biggest obstacle?
I think the biggest obstacle for me is that we add things in. And it's like, why don't we just focus on the things that we already do? Like, you know what I mean? It's like every single one of your clients, bar none, sleep. Every single one of your clients, bar none, drink. Whether it's water or whether it's not. Every single one of your clients, bar none, eats. So why do we always want to add, like, oh, now we're going to go to the gym, now we're going to do this, now we're going to do, but it's like, listen, first off, let's optimize the things that you already do. Let's optimize your sleep. Sleep has such a massive effect on absolutely everything else. And he even forgot one more fundamental thing. Every single one of your definitely does breathing. Like, it's like, so let's maximize your breathing. Let's maximize your sleep. Let's maximize what you drink, or at least improve it. And let's improve your nutrition or what you eat. All of these things, if you sort them out, mate, you are going to have like massive results through optimizing those pieces, and it will optimize success.
That's great. I actually went into that question in order to jump into some of the details about the importance of tracking, but I think we got even more awesome content in there. So that's perfect. Maybe I'll just ask it directly then. Can you elaborate more on the components of tracking and the process in order to build that success and how you guys do that?
I think for tracking, most clients, they're not good at it. So if you can work with them and track it for them. So every time you meet, you can tick it off. Or if you've got a client who has technology, such as your app, where they can go in and boom and hit it. There's something satisfying to humans about doing check. That's why people love to-do lists, because they feel like check mark. So whether you want to do it on an app, a physical piece of paper, the trainer helps them work through it. I think it's an important piece. And then if we're talking about building a deeper relationship with clients, you can have something where you say, I check in at 3 p.m. with you every day, or 4 p.m. because that's the time. Or if it was the habit of putting on their shoes, you say, when you do come in, you take off your shoes and you hit the button of done. So it's an important piece. Ben, your thoughts?
Yeah, I think one of the ways that I used to check in with my clients, I say to them, every single time you're about to have something to eat, every single time, take a picture of it and send it me. I don't care what it is, just take a picture and send it me. And they'd be like, and straight away, as soon as you do that, they're like, oh, can I send him a picture of this? I'm not going to eat it. I'm going to eat something different because I cannot send a picture of that. Do you know what I mean? So just something just straightforward like that, you're like, done. You know what I mean? You don't even need, I used to get the message, I'd be like, yeah, I don't even need to look at it. Because you'd even get a message where they're like, I'm not too sure if I should send you this. So straight away, you're like, oh mate,
yeah.
a bad one.
That is great. I love that. Awesome, guys. Sweet. So thank you guys so much for taking the time to sync up. I think the last thing that we should hit is the offer that you guys put together. So yeah, I think that you guys put together an incredible offer for everybody who's listening today and participating within the webinar. Can you tell them a little bit about what you guys have put together and what's happening?
Yes, so I'll jump in on this one, my mate. So what everyone's going to get access to with a follow-up from you guys, I believe, is going to be our squat analysis coach, which is 60 plus videos. It's got 5 hours e-reps points attached to it. You're going to get that free of charge. And then also you'll get an invite, or you'll get a link to sort of register for our squat masterclass, where you can come on, you can listen to me go, hey, and then you can listen to Kev give you the actual technical information, and that'll be an hour-long webinar live that you're more than welcome to jump in. So you're going to get follow-up with the squat course, squat analysis coach course. Again, we're 5 e-reps points. That's free of charge, our gift to you. And then the squat masterclass, where you can come on and do the Zoom webinar with myself and Kev.
Yeah, and if I can say, don't let the idea of complimentary throw you off. We need to reach out across the globe, spread our tentacles, and we believe that the education we offer is game-changing. We think that when people get a chance to see our interactive, engaging, and transformational learning experience, they'll be like, hey, I really enjoy how you do things. That is why we have taken this program that's worth several $100s and said, let's go big, let's go hard, let's put it out there, especially during COVID. Take a look. So when people hear free, sometimes the value of free is zero. It is not free, everyone. And post-COVID, the price will go back up and you'll be like, that used to be free. Yes, that's why we are doing this. So it won't be free forever. It won't be free forever. So if it's something that people are interested, we understand that we have to give and showcase what we do. If we want to get future customers, we want to get people who are interested in building up their skill so they can achieve their own personal will and the will of our clients. So that's the motivation behind the outreach and giving this away on a complimentary basis right now.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you guys so much for taking the time in order to sync up with us today. I know we ran a little bit over, so appreciate you guys being flexible with your schedule. Really appreciate it.
No, we appreciate the opportunity. Thanks, gentlemen.